All right, everybody, welcome. David Kinder here, and today, I wanted to give a quick overview of how you could use OneNote as an initial CRM program for new agents getting started. Okay. Now, by the way, this does not apply to any agent that's in an agency that has a CRM program that's maybe built into your technology fees. It also doesn't apply if you have to use a CRM program to fill your e-apps. If your e-app is separate from your CRM, that's fine. This will work for you. But the whole idea of this is to simplify your process and lower or eliminate certain expenses if you don't have to. And OneNote does a great job. Now, a big detraction of OneNote or anything else that's similar. Evernote is similar, but I don't use Evernote. It doesn't format the way I like it to. So I'm not going to talk about Evernote. I haven't touched it in years. But for OneNote, by the way, it's free. And you can get it for free even if you don't have Microsoft Office. It's just a download. The big thing about this is that you don't have control necessarily over your information. And here's what I mean. You could share this notebook with an assistant one day. But I'm being paranoid here. What if that assistant files a harassment suit against you and leaves and decides to go ahead and sabotage your entire business by deleting much of either just your favorite clients or all of their clients and leaves you in the dark? Now, it should be in the recycle bin on OneDrive, but still, I don't like that. So when you finally hire an assistant to do this work for you, you're going to want to transition however many clients you have in OneNote into the CRM program so that you have control over the data and no one can delete anything without you knowing about it. Okay, so data control is still very important. But if you're just a one-person shop and we're just getting started, I think this can work well for you for the first 100 clients or less. Once you get past 100, I don't know, maybe you can still do more. I think its potential is really unlimited. The question is, how much can you work with on your own? So let's talk about how I would structure this. I would structure this very much like the one card system card file box. And if you've never heard of the one card system, you need to look up Al Granum. Look it up on National Underwriter. I think there's even a tutorial that's there before you even buy the system. If you're with some major companies like Mass Mutual or Northwestern Mutual, you should be able to actually get a discount code as part of being a part of your agency. So that could give you the nuts and bolts of this, but let me give you how I would work with this. So first of all, the first tab is your current pipeline. What cases are you working on now? And I just called it sample case number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see them on the far right over here. That's where I put them. Each page, by the way, think of this as a notebook. This is a notebook. And think of those Mead five subject notebooks, those spiral bound paper notebooks where you're supposed to do one subject per tab. Well, that's what these tabs are. This is the same as what's up here. There's a tab, and within each tab, these are the pages. And I like keeping in this view so I can make sure I know exactly where I'm going. You can always hide the toolbars, which I don't like to do. You have to click on it somewhere. Nope, not there. See, this is why I don't like doing it. You can unpin. I want to repin so I can see my tabs. Let's click on there we go, and then the pin there. Okay, so I like keeping in this view to make sure that I can find what I'm looking for. This is the easiest for me to work in. Now, in a page, here's what you could do. You can actually insert, this is fun here, the date and time, and type your notes. Time-stamped notes. However, does it really, you can do it for any time that you want. So it's not as good as, let's say, if you're with a broker-dealer, you have time-stamped notes for taking trade instructions and executing on those trades. Probably not the same, but it's still admissible in a court of law, meaning that these are the notes as the approximate time, and you can type in whatever summary you want. Okay? You could record an audio. So if you want to just put an audio file of your own summary, that's maybe like that service Copy Talk. You can just record it in. It won't transpose it, but you can have an audio file there. You can record video. Not sure I do want to go that far. You can insert all kinds of things. By the way, OneNote was originally designed for students. was originally designed for collaboration between students, and it first came out like in the Microsoft Office 2007. I think that's when it first came out, and I had, or 2008, one of those editions, and I had a copy, and I was like, okay, this is nice, but then I realized that there's a lot more that can be done. By the way, don't expect this to do any mail merge. Don't expect it to do any pop-up reminders. It's not built for that. Okay, this is built for you to put in a whole bunch of stuff on a page. So you can type in your notes. You can insert any file you want. You can insert a file attachment, so it's in its native file form. So let's go here to the desktop. I created a couple things here. So I use a file for my Facebook page cover. You know, that cover image? So here's a Word document. Now I can either attach the file in a file format or the printout. So if I do the file, it's just there's the icon. I can do it again, attach the file. Let's do the same thing again, but let's do the printout. And it's doing its thing. It printed out, and there it is. It's the full page. Just depends on how you want to do it. You can insert all kinds of things here in its native file format. So just like if you had regular file folders for your client data, you had a client information sheet, you had notes on every conversation, you can do the exact same thing on one page right here. Okay, and you can keep on top of it. Now, by the way, I would happen to prefer, because of the way I think, I always put new notes at the top. So that's the way I would do it. So whatever is the newest note, I do it on top, so I could then go down and get the backwards history. That's the way I think. Now, once you have all the information in there, now you have something to reference, right? By the way, never delete a file from here. There's a place for it when you're ready to drop it, and I'll show it to you. Now, when it's an open case, keep it under what I call current pipeline. It's something that you're actively working on. Make sure that you know how many cases you're working with. But let's suppose you're stuck here in the March tab and you want to find, well, where did sample file number 3 go? You can just search, by the way, number 3. So quick. So the search is instant, and it will pop up whatever you're looking for. So number 3 is either the tab of March or the sample case, and there's sample case number 3. So the searching for something is very easy to do, and it'll bring it right up. Now, when you're done with the case, what do you do with it? Well, let's take sample case number 1. We say, okay, either we've closed it. Well, what does that mean? We've closed it. We're kind of done with it. We're going to probably check on them in a couple months. Now, I only use the first 6 months of the year. I don't need to do all 12, but you get the idea. I keep them in numerical order. I don't want it to get out of order in case it sorts by alphabet or something. So we're going to put sample case number 1. Let's suppose today is September 10th. Let's suppose I want to follow up with them in 4 months, let's say in January. I'm going to put that over here into January. Okay, very simple, drag and drop. Okay, now what should happen is that every month you should have one day where you're doing planning for the next month. So let's suppose I'm in December, which is before the Christmas break. I'm going to plan for January, and so I'm going to look at January and say, who am I going to follow up with and why? Oh, here's sample case number 1. Where did I leave off at? Okay. Oh, this is a closed case, so you can refresh your memory and say, okay, I wanted to reach out to them in January because of whatever, and put a note in here so you don't have to keep it in your mind. So everything should be there. So the more you can dump out of your mind and put it into something reliable, the better that you can serve far more people. And you can't do that without a system. I just think this is one of the better ways to do it. So sort it by month, and then each month, the one card system says do it the 3rd Friday of every month to plan for the next month, maybe even the next 2 months. You're going to figure out what days you have available for selling. You're going to figure out what days you have for conferences. Figure out what other projects you have to get done, your CE, your designation studies, whatever it is. And so you can just, but for client management, you put the page where you want to follow up with them and why. From there, by the way, you can make subpages. So like I already had this untitled page. You can make a subpage. I would avoid doing that as much as you can, and the reason is because if I decide to move, let's say I want to move untitled page, I move it here to current pipeline. Now this is still back here. It didn't move with it. So you'd have these straggled pages elsewhere. So I wouldn't want to do that. See, here's untitled page, but case number 1 didn't come with it. So I would avoid trying to do that unless it's temporary. So if it's in the current pipeline, you might say, okay, sample case number 2. I'm going to create a new page there. I'm going to indent it. You can indent it a couple times over. So I'm going to indent it once, and I'm going to say incumbent advisor considerations. So they might say, well, I've got this other advisor, whoever it is, and say, well, I want to run this by them. Well, tell me what, well, I ran it by them and they told me this. You can make all of that separate. It's side notes for the client, but it's not directly to the client. And what you can do, this is cool, you can just print it to a PDF. Okay, so I'm going to print it to I use PDFill. It's a $20 PDF editor software. And we're just going to say incumbent advisor considerations. We're going to print to PDF. It's going to pop up. There it is. Okay, it's just a one page. It doesn't mean anything. But then I could go back here and I can insert that file. So wherever I had put it, here. So when I'm done with that, I can attach the file or the printout, knowing that I can access it later. By the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but if you have specific software that has very specific formats, so let's say you're using eMoney and you're able to save a client's file externally rather than within the program, or like Torrid Technologies, they have this .rp7, I think that's the last one. Maybe it's RP8. I can't remember their file extension. But if you put that file in there, you might be able to get at it, or you might not. So if there's a possibility of corrupting a file. There's a possibility that as software evolves, older file versions won't work. So I would keep things to either a Microsoft Office format or PDF format, whatever's easiest, because you don't want to lose your notes. You don't want to lose the case file and the case history. So anyway, so we talked about the current pipeline, manage it all in one place. You have your future follow-up for your, for existing clients, or another prospect who has something going on, says, look, can't think about it right now, call me in January. Okay, if I think about it, I'll do that. And then you can put that there. There's also the inactive and drop files. And every time that someone just decides not to move forward, you're going to put their file there. And every once in a while, you might be looking for some business, and you might say, you know what, things are kind of dry. I wonder what I've already done in the past that maybe they're ready to move forward now. That would be where you go. So the only thing is, you never want to delete anything out of this. When you create a file, it's done. By the way, you can actually create a link to Outlook contacts. So for example, now I'm going to go into my Outlook here. I'm going to go straight to contacts, which I don't have too many. Most of my stuff is in Gmail, in my Gmail contacts. I don't think Brian Bloom is going to mind if I use him as an example, but I can send to OneNote. Now, if I click send to OneNote, where am I sending it? Well, right now, I'm only putting it to my notebook. It's the only one that's open. This is just a sample. And let's just say, Brian Bloom, I put you right into my pipeline. I'm going to put you here. I'm going to hit OK. Guess what? Here's Brian Bloom in my pipeline. Here's his email, link to the Outlook item, and whatever notes I might have put in the Outlook notes. So if you go into here, if we open it up, and you see the traditional Outlook format, and everything would have moved over. I only have his email here. If I have notes in here, that would have moved over too. Okay? So all of that would have moved over and copied into here. So you could actually put the contact in Outlook, then send it over to OneNote, and then you can start building a case file there. I'm not going to say it's easier. I'm just going to say you can do it. I think that's kind of it. Now, I used to be able to color code each page. I don't remember how to do that. I haven't had to do that in a long time. I want to see real quick if I can do it briefly. By the way, there's a whole lot of stuff in here. Again, it's made primarily for students. By the history, recent edits, find by author. That could be interesting. Reviewing. You can password protect a page if you need to. Any linked notes. I'm not sure about that. There's something there, but don't ask me what it is. I haven't had to use it. View. Full page view. That's all about the view. Oh, the page color. Here it is. See, I knew that. Now, let's suppose that you remember the one-card system. The one-card system had white index cards for prospects and clients. These are people that you want to keep in touch of. Then there's the yellow suspect card. And so you can actually color code. Let's suppose Brian Bloom, he's a suspect. I suspect he's somebody who might be interested. I'm going to color code that page yellow. And what's interesting is that, well, I thought it would be color coded here. So that's the page color. Rule lines. I was hoping I'd be able to change the tab color itself. Doesn't look like I can do that now. I could have sworn I was able to once before. Not seeing it. Okay. But anyway, if you were able to see all that, or you just color code it and you go down each case each month, and you'll be able to see, this is a suspect, this is a prospect, this is a client. And you'd be able to get clarity, and you're going to be able to review what's the next step. And here's a little sales tip. When you call back, you're not calling to touch base. I was calling to follow up. I was calling to see if, stop that. We're not calling to do anything like that. No, you're going to make a statement, which is the last time we spoke. Okay? The last time we spoke, we talked about this. Is that still a problem? Is that still a concern? Is that still an issue? You put it back on them. This isn't about you, it's about them. Don't make it about you. I was just doing this, or I was just in the area. Stop all that. Last time we spoke, we talked about this. Tell me, how are things going for you in that area? Things like that. Okay? So as for now, I can't think of anything else to really add. By the way, you can email the page. You can add an Outlook task. So there is some functionality that you can work together with. At the same time, I'm not a big person on using my Outlook to-dos and things like that. So use that as you can and as you want. Meeting details, I don't even remember. That's something that I've got there for today. So maybe it's to reference something from my calendar and I can plop it in. There's a lot of functionality in here. And so for an initial CRM to just get the notes in without worrying about each individual field, without messing with SQL servers on your own computer, without worrying about data controls and all this, and spending quite a bit of money, this is free. And I think it's a great start to building up case files and history for whoever you're working with for the future. So I'm going to leave this recording at that. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day.